I sent that mailing out and literally sold 1,000 tickets in one day. What they didn't have was names and addresses of 320,000 kids in Southern California and all that information on them.
The conversation that I have when they respond is one-to-one. It's not me and 12 other people.
There's a lot of open space in the mailbox right now, and digital fatigue is real. One of the key things I would do is make sure, as best I could, that it's not something AI is going to be able to do better in the next 5 to 10 years.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Wilson Zaire, founder of Zairemail, and I'm here on the Direct Edge podcast, where we explore the strategic thinking behind sustainable business growth. Today, I'm spending time with Keith Goodman, who's responsible for sales and marketing. He can give us his actual title. To Modern Postcard. He's been doing this an awful long time, and I'm hoping that he'll be able to share some of his secrets for business growth and marketing with all of you. So without further ado, Keith, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Wilson. It's great to be here. I know we've been talking about doing this for a while. We finally got it together.
No, forever.
We have two old busy guys, you know?
So let's start out. Tell us your actual title. I'm sure I goofed that up. But
I'm the VP of Corporate Sales and Marketing. So our business has two sides, kind of our legacy side, which is the small business side, and then the kind of corporate side, which is more enterprise, large companies, much more complex type solutions. And since that was the side of the business that I come out of, that was what I originally came in here. I now pretty much run sales and marketing, but that was my title. I've just really never changed it. It's okay. It sounds good. But as you said, I've been doing this a long, long time. And, one of the things that you and I had touched on briefly is kind of how we end up where we are, and, what kind of building blocks do we have in our past that really help our clients today. And this industry is all about helping businesses grow versus just trying to sell products. If you don't really help a client grow their business and grow their revenue, you're not going to keep clients in this industry. You could get your cards out perfectly on time and deliver everything flawlessly, but if they don't see the results, you're gone. So it's all about helping businesses grow. And so that's why in this industry, you can't just be an expert in direct mail. You have to be an expert in business growth. And
I used to work for a company called Sequent Computer Systems, and our tagline was, "Our business is your success."
Yep. And it's true. But then you have to do it. You have to deliver. Like, it's one thing to come up with a slogan and say, "Yeah, this is what we do. We help you grow your business." But if you don't actually do it, you don't keep customers very long. And I'm happy to say I have had customers for 20, 30 years. I have clients today that I sold computers to in my 20s. And those computers are long gone, but the clients are still there.
Right. I remember you telling a story about how you started out selling computers out of the trunk of your car or something.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Shh. No, well, it was funny because at 17, a best friend of mine his dad was one of the largest concert promoters in the country. He was Bill Graham's partner, and they put on these huge stadium concerts all over the country. And he and I got to go to a bunch of these, and we were backstage, and we were teenagers and young kids, 14, 15, 16 years old, hanging out backstage at all these big concerts. We met all these bands, and it was really cool. And then I moved to San Diego, and I started booking bands at our high school. And when it came time for the senior prom, I wanted to have a rock band play. It was a band called Mickey Rat, and they went on to become Rat. And which is I
remember those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was right around the time Saturday Night Fever came out. So the senior council outvoted me and said, "We're going to have a disco band for our prom." And I was all hooked on having this rock and roll prom. So I had money in the bank from my bar mitzvah. I had like $4,000. And my dad said, "You can use it for either a business or to go to college? And I said, Dad, I'm starting a business. He goes, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to do an event, a concert. And I found a place, 3,000 seats. It held 3,000 people. It's now called Paradise Point in San Diego, but it used to be called Vacation Village. And they had a big conference center. And I got them to rent it out to me on prom night. So I had my own prom. It was the rock and roll prom. And it said, and a friend of mine was an artist, and he put, don't wear a tux, wear tennis shoes. And it had the dance circle with like a John Travolta guy in the middle with all these long hair rockers laughing at him and pointing their fingers. So it was just like the out of Saturday Night Fever, but kind of different. And we put out flyers, and we ended up, a friend of mine's dad used to have one of those things where they towed the banners behind the planes, and he went up and down the beach, and we promoted it, and we had people selling tickets, different shops around San Diego selling tickets for us. We ended up selling it out, sold 3,000 tickets.
Nice.
At $10 a ticket, and wiped out all the high school proms. So only 30 people went to my high school prom. And we had 3,000 at a private prom. And I made probably $20,000. But the most amazing thing that came out of it, my dad was very much a businessman, entrepreneur, and he owned a mainframe computer at the time, which a lot of kids didn't have a dad that had that. And
Mark,
yeah.
do you think?
Yeah. So he said, I want you to do me a favor. He said, I want you to collect a mailing list of all these kids that show up. And you're going to have a drawing for your next show. I said, well, Dad, I don't have a next show. He goes, you just sold out this one. I have this feeling you might have a next show. He said, but offer a drawing for tickets to your next show and get their name and address and phone number, and then ask some information that'll help you for your next event. And I said, like what? And he said, well, you left money on the table. You didn't do concessions. He said, so you can, next time you can do concessions, but you need to know what kind of soft drinks they drink so you know what to buy, and what kind of candy bars they like to eat so you know what to buy. Find out their favorite local band. Find out their favorite radio station. All that stuff is going to help you in the future. So get this information in the computer because you can store anything. Almost every kid filled out this thing, and I sat there for a month and a half afterwards typing it all in on a VT100 terminal. Built my database and started doing another event. He said, now you can send a mailing out to all these people. And I said, yeah, but that costs a lot of money. He said, nothing compared to what it would cost using other types of media. You're going to get it right to them. And he was right. I sent that mailing out and literally sold 1,000 tickets in one day. Boom. Off the people that got the mailing. And they told their friends about it. Ended up selling the next show out and really didn't have to do any other advertising. Built more names and more names and more names and started building this database. By the time I got to college, and I was about halfway through, and I was booking bands at San Diego State, and I decided to do my own concert. I got offered the B-52s. They were just coming out. They had just come out with Rock Lobster in 1981 or 82. I was just junior in college. And I took the show independent, but I didn't have time to do a mailing. They gave me the show with only 10 days left. So it would have taken more time than that to get the mailers out. So I had to run radio ads. So I walked into the radio station and I said, hey, I've got the B-52s coming up. I need to buy radio time. And the program manager said, you're Keith Goodman. And I said, yeah. And he said, you've sold out every concert you do. Like, you've never been in the radio station. You never booked an ad on radio, and you never ran an ad in the newspaper. How do you do it? I said, I do it with direct mail. He said, how does that work? And I said, well, I have the names and addresses of 146,000 kids, and I know what radio station they listen to, which is why I came here to talk to you. And I know their candy bars, and I know their soft drinks. I know everything about them. I know their favorite bands, what their last album was. I've got it all in the system. And he said, what other radio stations do you have? And I told him, and he said, how can I buy those radio stations? I said, I'll trade you for radio ads. I'll give you the data of all the other radio stations, but you give me free ads. I never paid for radio. I traded it to all the radio stations. So they were all mailing each other's clients. When I finally sold that production business, I had did this for 6 years or 7 years, ended up buying a nightclub in Newport and ended up selling the whole thing. And when they bought it, they didn't buy it because of my lease on the nightclub. They didn't buy it because of the bands I had a relationship with. They could have done that on their own. But what they didn't have was names and addresses of 320,000 kids in Southern California and all that information on them. And that's what the value of my business was, that I had that relationship with all those kids. Mm. So that was kind of my unique differentiator, is that I was able to build a very successful entertainment industry or entertainment business off direct mail. Nobody had ever done that before. And that's why when you build a business, there has to be that process. It doesn't have to be a unique product, but something about the way that you're going to do the business is going to give you that leg up, is going to be that differentiation. And it could be the way you market it. It could be, just that process, but having something unique that you do that helps you stand out, that gives you that additional value.
Yeah. Yeah. Two things occur to me, and one of them, I don't want to interrupt, but the name, this blast from the past, is his name, Bill Graham. Bill Graham Presents.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I grew up in the Bay Area, and all the big concerts were Bill Graham concerts. He found a way to manage the music industry, or that concert piece in the music industry, when nobody else could.
Yeah.
So for those who are listening, if you go on to Wikipedia and you look up Day on the Green, for example, they used to do those in the Bay Area. You'll see all kinds of information
at the Oakland Coliseum.
Exactly.
I saw the Dead there. I saw Santana. I saw Journey. I saw.
No, exactly. We may have been at some of the same concerts.
Probably Black Sabbath.
Yeah, exactly. So that's an interesting blast from the past. And Bill Graham was really an interesting guy too.
I got to work with him a few times, and he taught me a great lesson about music. And I still think of it today, and I tell people the story all the time. A really short story, and then I won't talk anymore about music. But I was doing a series of summer dances for him here in San Diego. He flew me up for the day or the night to talk to him, and I met with him. And then he offered me tickets to go see New Riders of the Purple Sage, and they were playing at the Fillmore. That was one of
Fillmore East, yeah. Fillmore East or the Fillmore West?
Fillmore West, over by Golden Gate Park.
Sure. Yeah. I know.
And I said, "Are they good?" And he looks at me. He says, "Son, sit down." He said, "You can't play a place like the Fillmore and suck. It just doesn't work." Like, because once you're playing a venue like the Fillmore, you've got to be good. So when somebody asks you, "Would you like tickets to New Riders at the Purple Sage at the Fillmore?" the answer is yes. Thank you so much. That would be great. Don't ever ask if a band is good, because it's all subjective. Like you have to like music of all types for the music, and just go. You'll have a great time. And I did. I had a wonderful time that night, and he was absolutely right. And anytime I get a chance to go to a major concert, I go. Doesn't matter who the band is.
Yeah, for years, we had a banner for the Fillmore West that was signed by all the kids in the neighborhood and stuff, when they shut down eventually. But that's another story. But, that was a really interesting time, but I've never heard the story about direct mail, and it seems like that would fit pretty well. I mean, but back to your content, to your comment about process and marketing, I mean, are super important, but as a marketing person, and I teach marketing at the university level too, having a differentiated product is essential as well.
Oh yeah.
But it may be that, sometimes if you're better at communicating, it may be that people don't know about the alternatives, or don't know them as well, would not understand the benefits and why. So that's
like I did what everybody else did. I had concerts. I had a band playing in a room with lights and a stage. And what what made my business different was the way that I marketed it. And the cost structure was so much lower because I didn't have to buy radio and I didn't have to buy ads. And, I was able to get people at a much lower cost of acquisition that made my model very, very profitable.
Right, but I'm also thinking of your example, New Riders of the Purple Sage. I mean, which was a very hot band at the time, but they weren't playing three different venues in the Bay Area. They were probably playing the Fillmore West.
Yeah.
And so it's about awareness. The product, and the product is more than the band. The product is the venue and the time.
It's the experience. Yeah.
Exactly. So the event is, but there, you do have a differentiated product of some sort, but you need awareness is key because people can't take advantage of that process if they're not aware that it's there and what it costs, and they can,
Right.
Get all their friends to go too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's all key, but I know originally, we met, I think, doing seminars for the U.S. Postal Service.
I'm back doing it again.
Yeah. So
Signed up for another 2 years.
was it called Think Direct or something? You had a company back then.
Back then, we were the first company to sell marketing data over the internet.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I mean,
Everybody was selling marketing data. It was just a different process. And we were actually able to take the company public because of that. So the process was good.
So tell us about, I mean, somewhere between, doing concert promotion and owning a nightclub, and then later on there's Think Direct and now Modern Postcard. What did that journey look like? Can you kind of give us a thumbnail sketch of, how that all came together?
Have you ever played craps before and rolled the dice? No, I'm just I actually started writing software to do the break-even analysis on all my concerts. I think I told you the first one was done on a columnar pad, and I figured there had to be a better way. So I started using Excel, and then I started programming in DBase.
Or did you start with Excel, or did you start with Lotus? Or Multiplan even?
No, I went with a DBase. Ashton Tate DBase from the .conf.
Nice.
And that's how I wrote my first software to basically manage a concert, an event. And then I was selling it to the other promoters, and I found that I was making more money with a lot less stress selling software. And I started writing apps for other companies and things, and I really got into computers. And at that point, I met a woman who later became my wife. And being a concert promoter and club owner was not like the right industry to be in to have a relationship. And I felt it was kind of time to move on and make that transition. So around 23, 24 years old, I got out of entertainment, put on a few shows just for fun, but then went full-time into computers. Ended up getting a couple patents that ended up never was able to monetize them. I lost the company, got hired by another company who was one of my creditors. And they ended up getting bought by a couple companies, got bought by Lockheed Martin, and ended up working for them for years, and just kind of left them, went with another company in the video space and entertainment, and ended up leaving that. And then we started a company, what we thought was just going to be a internet company. And we ended up turning that into a very, very successful data company selling marketing data over the internet because nobody had done it before. And we wanted to be a first. We first thought about starting an internet company. We thought, well, maybe we'll sell bicycles over the internet, but somebody was already doing it. And we thought there's never going to be room for two companies selling bicycles on the internet. So we have to find something that nobody else is selling. And that was back then. It was like, we're the first ones. Everybody had to be the first selling something online. So we were the first ones selling marketing data, and it actually ended up working out really well.
Nice.
Yeah. Now I'm selling postcards.
Yeah, it's funny because I know a guy who started an internet company selling bicycle parts over the internet.
Yep.
turned that into a $50 million business, believe it or not.
Is he selling postcards now?
No, I think he's retired.
Yeah, I bet he is.
Yeah, the internet changed it changed the lives of a lot of people, but
Yeah. And here
apparently
I
he's
am. I'm
young
still
enough to
working.
do that.
What did we do wrong, Wilson? Yeah. So
So,
and then I ended up here, and we met probably like 25 years ago.
oh yeah, I can't quote numbers, or it's too frightening.
I know. God, a lot of people are going to listen to this are probably thinking, "Wow, I was 3 years old back then." No.
Well, especially those concerts that that a lot of that music. I mean, it's what's really amazing to me is that a lot of that music people still play today. Although you're in an elevator somewhere and people are playing Led Zeppelin
I know.
as easy listening music.
AC/DC. You hear like
Like,
Back in Black, like in the elevator.
or yeah, Hell's Bells or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
And
I know.
yeah, no, but it was funny for me because I wouldn't, just an aside, this is not about growing a business, but as a kid, I would have never thought of playing my parents' music. I mean, that wouldn't have worked for me. But all the music we listened to growing up, I mean, it's still popular. Kids are still playing it. It's still
Yeah.
in
My
clubs.
parents, their music when I was growing up was Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Jimi Hendrix, The Doors. That was all the music they were listening to. So they were listening to 60s stuff.
Oh, well, yeah. So my parents were listening to stuff that was a little older than that,
But
kind of
my dad was
50s.
in the casino business and entertainment.
Oh, got it. Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
he was pretty up on his music.
All right.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, but I mean that was I wasn't old enough, of course, to go to Woodstock or be involved in that, but it's still a lot of the music stemmed from the Woodstock era,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
so it was, but I was in a class the other day and I asked the students, I asked them, who knows what Woodstock is? And nobody, not a single student. And so I had to explain it, but it was a massive cultural event at the time.
Though it's funny how like now it's been so many years. It was like this magical moment in time, where peace and love and harmony all came together with music. And it was just this wonderful weekend. And when it actually happened and you talk to the people that were there, it was one of the worst weekends they've ever had, slogging around in the mud. It was disgusting. There was nowhere to go to the bathroom. You couldn't get food. It was terrible. But people lived through it. They survived it. And now it's like this magical moment in time. But at the time, it wasn't that magical.
Right. Well, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of
Oh, there were
legends.
some great acts there.
Oh,
Amazing acts. I mean, it was really kind of changed everything by what they put together. But the
of
actual,
course,
the
of course, for
reality
a
is,
lot of people who actually attended it, the whole thing was kind of a fog anyway.
yeah, exactly. There was enough drugs that really didn't matter. So memory isn't as bad as the actual living it.
Yeah. So tell us about. I mean, if you were thinking about building your business today, I mean, what do? You have got this cool new idea and you want to bring it to market and you want to make it successful.
One of the key things I would do is make sure, as best I could, that it's not something AI is going to be able to do better in the next 5 to 10 years. So it would be something that requires a human to bring something of value that can't be replicated by AI. Now, I know that sounds terrible and everything, but when you look, there are certain industries that years ago people thought were, hey, computer's never going to do that. Well, now computer's doing it. Now, they might not have that personal touch, but you don't always have to have that personal touch. It's nice sometimes, but it might not be enough to swing that business into profitability. Second, I would look at, it's kind of hard to find something brand new, but so many people think, wow, this is great. This is a great idea, and don't do the research. Is it something that people want? Like, we constantly look at, if enough customers ask for something, there's a pretty high likelihood it's going to succeed. As a new product within our organization. And a lot of people say, I have this great idea. I truly believe that this is going to be something. And they go ahead and do it. Now, there's all kinds of stories that you hear about, nobody believed in me and I stayed with it and I never listened to the naysayers. And if I had, I would have never done this. And because I did, and I didn't listen to anybody, I was wildly successful. And that has happened probably like 7 or 8 times. Now, it does happen, but the likelihood of that happening is very small.
Yeah, no, I think you're right at some level. I do have mixed feelings though, because I know that, when we teach entrepreneurship, we talk about, total available market, total addressable market, finding a pain point
but
or
a lot of
problem we
people
can solve.
don't go through that research when they start a business. It's all because they believe something.
Right. No, I totally get it. I mean, but the discipline behind it, we try to encourage entrepreneurs to use that kind of a discipline. But then I also look at offerings like Amazon, right? And that the reason why Amazon's successful is because Jeff Bezos didn't know that he shouldn't be able to do that, right? And they're chewing away at Walmart right now, and Walmart is the largest. I think it's the largest private company in the world, if I'm right, in terms of revenue, and Amazon is battling with them toe to toe, and people, if he'd asked, people would have said, you can't do that,
Right.
But
well, honestly, when he launched Amazon and he was selling books online,
right, exactly,
and he at the time really didn't have this vision that one day I'm going to be selling everything online. He really just thought it was going to be books online.
Well, I think books were the right place to start because they're, and this is a case where we want a product that's undifferentiated, right? Because the problem with one of the challenges at that time with e-commerce is that you couldn't touch a product, touch it, feel it, try it, etc. But a book is a book, right? I mean, so and
part of the fun of a bookstore is you do get to read it, but as soon as he came up with the way to preview the book and to flip through pages, which he came up with pretty early, that was a game changer.
Right. Well, so there's 2 interesting things going on here. One is that it's a product that by design is undifferentiated. You could think about CDs or DVDs and other kinds of products like that. But the second is that when you go into a traditional bookstore, like Powell's bookstore here in Portland, Oregon, is supposed to be the biggest in the world.
Yeah.
And it's fun to go in there and look at books and stuff. But if you think about the amount of inventory on those shelves,
oh yeah,
it's staggering.
And the cost per square foot of maintaining that facility and the inventory is astronomical.
Exactly. But if I have Amazon, I don't really, an online bookstore, I don't need all those titles in stock. I just need pictures of them.
Right.
If somebody orders one, I'll scramble and figure out how to get one. But
exactly.
But my cost of the cost of operating that business from an inventory standpoint, it blows traditional retailers out of the water.
But it's amazing. I went into Barnes and Noble 2 weeks ago. I was going on a trip and I wanted to get another book for the trip. And I walked in there thinking to be empty. It was packed. I ended up having to wait 20 minutes in line to buy a book and there was like 5 or 6 cashiers working. There was a huge line of people waiting in line to buy books. And they didn't just have one book in their hands. They had 2, 3, 4 books. They had kids with them. I mean, it was amazing how many people were in line. And when I talked to the cashier, she said, it's like this almost every day.
Right. Well, I think there's 2 things happening there too. And I mean, I'd have to look at the research, to confirm this, but one is you've had a huge consolidation in the industry, from traditional bookstores. So the local bookstores, a lot of those are gone.
Yep.
A lot of the big guys, the big players are gone too. So Barnes and Noble's managed to stick it out, but but because of the consolidation, they're able to service that market.
Yep.
And the second piece is that people just don't read the way they used to. I mean, people are consuming videos and streaming content and things like that. So I find it at the university with students too. I mean, if I give students, a lot of times I'll give them a chapter to read out of a textbook. I know they won't read it. I mean, I have to summarize the high points. I have to give them videos. Because, people just don't consume print media, or at least from an educational standpoint, the way they used to.
See, I won't read an educational book. I have to listen to it while I'm driving, book on tape or whatever. Because if I read it at night when I'm reading a novel, I'll fall asleep. I'll fall asleep after half a page. So I'll read a novel and I could read 20, 30, 40 pages before I go to bed. But if I try to read a business book or textbook, I'm gone in 15 seconds.
Right. I mean, we can bring this back to our industry, direct response, direct mail. It used to be back in the day, people would talk about, Publishers Clearinghouse used to do all of these mailings, right? And they would do these 6 or 8 page mailings. And I remember taking this class one time where they're talking about the right way to do a direct mail piece. And it has to have 6 or 8 pages, and it had something called a Johnson box, or an uplift letter, that you put on it. And there's all these different tricks to
get you. Was that Alan Rosenspan putting on that class?
No, it was a guy.
Okay, because Alan used to say the same thing.
Rosen. It was
Alan
Rosen and Brown Direct. Richard Rosen.
Richard Rosen. Yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah, and so the old friend.
He lives up by you in Portland, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Yeah. He's an interesting guy, but he's written a number of books on this topic, and so we used to talk about all of these different tools and tricks and tools you can use, but these days. I mean, we see millions of pieces of direct mail here at Zare Mail. And I have to tell you that most of them, if they look like a letter, they're 1 page.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody's doing a 6-page letter.
No, and they all have a graphical format instead of just copy.
Exactly. Yeah, people just don't consume.
Well, there's a really good reason for that. When you look at who those letters were written for, it was either the silent generation or baby boomers. And it was just the older edge of the baby boomers. And now, the Gen Xers are basically spending more money than any other generation. And that generation got pushed out an extra 10 years because people went from their early 20s to their 30s to have babies. And it happened in the middle of that generational shift. So that's why the Gen X is such a big generation, because not having kids for a while pushed that out. So even though they might call them baby boomers, or they might call them millennials, they're kind of in that range where they're all very similar, and they were the first kind of early adopter technology generation. And MTV, when everything started to move towards a graphical communication format where you didn't read anymore, you saw it. It was all about imagery. It was all about video. It was all about color. And it wasn't, you don't read it, you get shown it. And once that changed, it changed the way all advertising is done. Like, nobody reads anymore.
Right. So there's the format change, and the modality change, but there's also this idea of, how fast we need to communicate an idea. So we live in a world of 10-second short form video,
Oh yeah.
TikTok and Instagram.
But you have to write copy the same way.
Yeah.
It has to be 10-second short form copy. You can't wait till page 3 for somebody to see the offer.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, we see mostly today 1-page, sometimes 2-page letters, postcards. Postcards, of course, are huge because like a little billboard in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
But you only have a short amount of time to get your message across. So, the offer's got to pop, and it's got to be
about a half a second is all somebody spends on that first pass. When they're pull the mail in from the mailbox and they're flipping through it on the coffee or in the kitchen counter, whatever, and they got their glass of wine out and they're flipping through it, you get about a half a second of eye time before they decide whether or not they keep it or not. Not whether or not they respond, but whether they keep it or if it goes in the recycle bin.
Well, you're in California, so you probably have a recycle bin. The rest of the
Wait a
nation.
minute, you have one in Oregon. Come on.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But some people, no,
I just don't want to say, I used to say, put it in the trash, and people used to get really upset. So I've trained myself to say, you put it in the recycle bin.
no, I get it. I'm just teasing.
I'm being politically correct.
Well, there you go. Yeah, in an age of political incorrectness. I mean,
Yep.
I mean, for anybody who's been following the news. But no, I mean, to your point, I mean, I think you have to have, you have to have you have to solve a problem. You have to have a differentiated product. And then if you try to build awareness, establish preference, drive demand, then you've got a very short amount of time to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
and the mail is a really good tool. But why is that? Why does the mail? It still works. I mean, people talk about the mail being dead, but
here's my thinking and kind of why we're seeing a lot of success right now with direct mail. And thank God we are, because I didn't want to have to go find another career. I'm kind of too old to go put on rock concerts again. So,
well, those bands are still around, by the way.
I know. Well, I learned to play the piano. Maybe I could just go play the piano or something. But what we found is there's a lot of open space in the mailbox right now, and digital fatigue is real. Like, we are overwhelmed right now with digital marketing, especially email. 400, 500, 600, 700 emails a day is what a lot of people get. Like, it's crazy.
I get a ton. Yeah, 500
it's a full-time
plus.
job to go through email. Like, what'd you do today? Oh, I hung out, went through my email. Oh, we were on vacation, and it's vacation now is when you go to an exotic place and you check your email. Like, I do it from the back of my boat all the time because I have Starlink. So I get to check email from the back of the boat while I'm out at the islands. And then digital ads. Look at how cluttered everything is getting with digital ads now.
Right. Well, I mean, on email, I mean, I think we talked about this before. When I get 400 or 500 emails every single day, and those are just the ones that the spam filter doesn't catch. So when I'm looking at email, I'm not looking to read stuff. I'm looking to delete stuff.
Right. And it's just delete, delete, delete. Now, and then what do? We send more emails. So it's and a lot of the younger kids don't even look at their emails anymore. When I try to send emails to my son, he's 34 years old. He doesn't check his email. He said, "Dad, text me." I don't check my email. And once they start abusing the text box, which is already happening, your messages, they'll stop looking at those too, and there'll be some new app that you communicate through. But it's getting to the point where we're being overwhelmed, and now everybody does digital retargeting. So every time you go on a website, you're going to start seeing ads for that website, and they're coming up everywhere. And then it used to be when you were looking through Facebook or Instagram, you'd see 4 or 5 content pieces and then an ad. It's every other page now.
Yeah, it's funny that you mention texting, because my partner Kelsey, she does mostly text. Sending her an email is, unless I ask her to look for it, she'll never see it.
Yeah, and that's what's happening.
But here's the thing: is I do text too, and I've been getting commercial messages, advertising stuff, like
more and more every day.
Yeah, I got something from a local painter. We're in your neighborhood. We're going to give you a deal, and of course I blocked them. But I felt like it was wrong, right? I felt like, hey, this is my text, my text box. This is for friends and people who know me. What are you doing here? And I'll feel that way about mail when I get mail. So my reaction, my knee-jerk reaction, was different to that text than I would to a postcard.
So there's a couple other things. One, You ever tried to save a digital ad? Like you're on Instagram and you go, oh, this looks pretty cool. How do you save it? You pretty much have to see if there is a forward and then forward it to yourself. So that way you can actually view it later because you might not be in buy mode. It's really easy to save a direct mail piece. Most people just stick in the cubby in the kitchen or in your outbox or inbox in your
Sticking on the fridge. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really easy to save and show to other people or whatever. But what we're finding when you combine it with digital be like when you like imagine as a consumer, you come home, water, beer, wine, something. You're pouring something, you're sitting there going through, it's the end of the day, you're going through your mail. But you're not in buy mode. Like you're not in front of a computer, you're just sitting there. So you get the mail piece and you're not going to respond to it right then. If you like it, you're going to put it away for later. And tomorrow you get more stuff you put away for later. Maybe a week later, you pull it all out and you start going through it again. Maybe you're watching something on TV and you're looking through it. You go, oh, that's right. I did want to do this. Maybe then you might get on your computer or your phone and check it out or whatever. The next day you'll call. But say you get the piece, it's now in your cubby and you're interested in it. And now you get an email. You're like, I remember that. I actually want to do that. You click on it. You can sign up, you can do whatever, make a reservation for the restaurant, whatever you want to do. Or you might say, but I'm busy right now, so I'll deal with it later. I know I have the mail piece in there. And the next day you're waiting for your kid to get out of school, you're sitting in the car and an ad pops up. You're like, I wanted to do that, but when the email came, I was pretty busy. But I have 5 minutes to wait now until my kid gets out of school. I'm going to do it now. So the email and the digital versions of that ad become the conversion devices, not necessarily, they didn't do the heavy lifting. They didn't get you interested in the first place, but it's a very convenient way to respond and convert and actually take advantage of the offer. So by combining it, you get that 1 + 1 = 3 because you're making it easier to respond. So you have a normal response rate on just direct mail. And you have a normal response rate on just digital. But when digital is used as an easier way to respond and convert, then it's kind of a new usage for it that actually makes it very, very convenient instead of kind of a nuisance. It's like, wow, okay, I can just click on this and go now and do it.
Right. I mean, we talk about that when doing, stuff like political campaigns and stuff too. I mean, it's not just either or. I mean, they're not mutually exclusive. Sure, we use digital. We build the websites. We use AdWords, but we also use direct mail and yard signs and community events. And, we use a whole range of tools. One of the interesting things that I've talked about recently with clients is about the conversation you have with customers, because a lot of times when you're online, say somebody finds you through a search engine, they're going to get a page full of different responses or different information that they can check out. And a lot of times if you put your information into those websites, you'll get contact from multiple people.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes when I'm using direct mail, I send somebody a letter or a postcard or something. The conversation that I have when they respond is one-to-one. It's not me and 12 other people. It's a one-to-one conversation directly with a customer. And for a lot of people, that's pretty compelling.
Yeah. And they all have their usage. One of the things that I found is because of the cost, direct mail is expensive. It really does well on a high value product. So either a high value single transaction or a higher value LTV. Like for a restaurant, you might only have a $20 check. If you were trying to use direct mail to sell a $20 product, it wouldn't be a great tool.
So you're talking about lifetime customer value.
Right. So if you're looking at LTV and lifetime customer value, but if somebody's going to eat at your restaurant every week or every month, they're going to spend $20 to $30. That's now, that customer is now worth $800, $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 a year, possibly $4,500 over their lifetime. That's a very high value transaction, even though it's $20 per actual individual transaction. And a lot of people get caught up in that first transaction when they look at the return on investment, and they don't understand what that LTV is. And I've got companies all the time saying, we did this program and we only got 22 new customers. We generated $1,000 and it cost us $3,000. It's like, yeah, but
Right.
they're going to buy from you over and over again.
You make a great point, and it's a conversation we've had many times. Too. And it's even bigger. The topic's bigger than that. So people say direct mail, I thought it was going away. Why is it still here? And the answer is because most people, direct mail has a cost. It's always had a cost because of postage.
Mm-hmm.
We've always had to buy a postage stamp, and postage stamps have gotten more expensive over time as well. Mm. And so the industry has always been based on return on investment, ROI. And as long as people are still getting a positive ROI, they will continue to spend.
Right.
And calculating that ROI is not just shouldn't be based on just the transaction. Mm-hmm. It should be based on, as you say, on lifetime customer value.
Yep.
So if I pay, a $1 to put a piece in the mail, what on average, what am I getting back? If I'm on average getting $15 in sales and then maybe thousands of dollars in lifetime customer value, it turns out to be a pretty good investment.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to understand return on investment.
Well, people don't realize, like you just brought up, the dollar number. So say at a 1% response rate or conversion rate, that's $100 customer acquisition. And one of the things I do in my seminars is I have everybody kind of figure out, I always create like a little outline thing so that people can figure out what they're actually willing to spend per customer. And most of them are willing to spend well over $100 to acquire a customer. Some are willing to spend over $1,000, especially real estate brokers. If they can get somebody to list a house and they know they're going to make $50, $70, $100, $150,000 on that house, are they willing to spend $1,000 to get somebody to list a house with them? Absolutely. That means they only need 1/10 of a 1% response. So
right.
So people don't realize it till you put those numbers down, and once they see them, they think, "Wow, this actually makes total sense."
Right. Well, and assumes a 1% response rate. If you get,
but that would 2%. Be 1/10 of a percent at $1,000.
Right.
Yeah.
So the higher the response rate, the better that formula gets.
Yeah.
And that really requires targeting.
But
too.
The higher the value of the product too, it totally changes the scale, because a lot of people ask, well, what's a typical response rate? Well, something between 1/10 of a percent and 3%. Yeah. Or sometimes 5%. It just depends on the product. It depends on your targeted cost of acquisition, what that threshold is for your product and your business model. So there's all kinds of factors that come into it. And then a real important one is, how good are your salespeople? If we get you a bunch of leads and you can't convert them, that's a completely different problem we need to look at.
Sure, of course. Of course. It depends on the product and what you're, whether you're using an enterprise sales channel or using something else. I have this weird story. This is a historical story too. And you mentioned response rates, and for some markets, people are touched so often, or, they're so commoditized that we get very low response rates. Okay. But I actually had a campaign one time early in my career where I got a 30% plus response rate. Wow. And this is funny. The product was, there were all of these engineers using CAD/CAM systems, and they were using monochrome screens, and Sun Microsystems had just come along, and they had these color engineering workstations. And people are saying, but they're engineers. The engineers don't care about color. They don't, they're happy with monochrome. It worked just fine for, laying out circuit boards and stuff like that. And so we did this campaign where we offered a poster in response, and then a trade-in program for the monochrome workstation. Huge success.
I remember that program. That was the Sun Spark Station 1 that came out with the color monitor. I was selling it back then. Did very well on that.
Yeah, it was a huge, success in terms of a campaign. But I mean, if you
we
have
took
the
out
right,
a bunch of the IBM RISC systems,
yeah,
because the RISC still had the monochrome monitors.
oh yeah, no, yeah, a bunch of people did. IBM Apollo,
Oh yeah,
remember those guys?
and Apollo was selling CAD systems, and it was amazing that they had monochrome monitors and Tektronix.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Tektronix terminals.
So the thing was that, if you have the right offer and you could put it in front of the right audience, that was perfectly targeted, because we knew who engineers were. We knew who owned those computers, and we could put it in the front of the right audience. Good things happen, sometimes very good things. But it really requires, the right audience and the right offer for sure.
Hey, we're at an hour and a half now.
Oh no! We spent the first 30 minutes just kind of talking.
Like an hour. I think we should stop now, but then, because I actually do have to get onto a call, but we should do part 2, because I think people probably might have enjoyed this, and we can.
I would hope so. Maybe we could do a concert series.
Yeah, there we go.
But let me do the summary here. I have to do this for. All right, so perfect for our listeners. If today's conversation sparks some ideas about your own growth strategies, we'd love to hear from you. If you go to the Zairmail site, www.zairmail.com, that's like airmail with a Z on the front, you'll see an email address, a big toll-free number. We always answer the phone. We'd love to talk. Is there any final words? Anything you'd like? How do people reach you, Keith? What if they want to have a conversation about direct mail, direct response? How do they get to you?
Best way, you can reach me by email at KeithG, KEITHG, at modernpostcard.com, or you can reach me. I'm really active on LinkedIn. Look me up on LinkedIn, Keith Goodman, and with Modern Postcard. And that's pretty easy to find.
Yeah, I know. And Modern Postcard does a great job. They're a partner of Zairmail. So certainly we work together on all kinds of things. But if you have additional questions, I would encourage you to reach out to Keith or to myself. I'm on LinkedIn as well. So thank you for joining us today. Remember, sustainable competitive advantage comes from building strategies that leverage your core competencies, identify what makes your organization offering unique and valuable, and then embrace that as your core, both when operating and planning for the future. We'll be back with another conversation soon. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Keith.
Wilson.
We really appreciate it.
All right. Had a great time.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye.